My employer offered on-site mammographies, which I took to be a perk. And so for several years, I had mammographies done on site. However, after several years, I received a phone call that I should have some additional film done. When I went in for the additional film, I was told that I should wait to see the radiologist. I did. And the radiologist said to me, "We've looked at your film over the last few years, and you've always had calcifications. However, we now see that they have changed in shape and size, and that is a red flag. You need to have a biopsy." I like to tell the story that I knew what a biopsy was, but I did not know where to have it done. So I was not embarrassed to say to the doctor, "Can you help me?" The doctor's team scheduled me for a biopsy. I had a biopsy in 2 areas. After the test was done, the radiologist said to me, "We need to schedule an appointment for you to get the results." And I said to her, "What would be best for me if you would just give me a phone call?" That may not work for everyone. Whenever you have tests done, it's important for you to get the results. If you need to take someone with you, by all means you should. So, in a few days, I received a phone call and I heard for the first time, "You have breast cancer." I have to say, at the time of my diagnosis, I was a young woman of 38 years of age, and I didn't know that young women could even get breast cancer at the time. It was clear that I had a lot to learn. But I was not embarrassed again to say to this doctor, "Can you help me identify a breast surgeon?" I said to her what was important to me was to have one with a good bedside manner. Within 2 weeks, I was sitting across from a breast surgeon having my first consultation. I had started doing research in order to prepare for my consultation. So when the doctor said, "We believe we've caught the cancer early, and I'm proposing that you have a breast conserving surgery called a lumpectomy," I agreed that that was the best choice for me. So I had a lumpectomy, the tissue was sent to the lab, the results came back, and my surgeon called me to let me know that unfortunately, she would have to go back in for a second lumpectomy because she did not have clear margins on all the sides. What that meant was some cancer cells were near the edge of the tissue, and so she went in and took out a larger area in order to achieve clear margins. In addition, from the report, it was known that my cancer was positive for estrogen and progesterone, which led to the recommendation that I do hormonal therapy. In addition, because I had a lumpectomy, I needed to do radiation therapy. I started with a monthly injection for 2.5 years to address the hormonal expression that was found in my breast cancer. And I have to say that as a result of that treatment, I was sent into what is called medically induced menopause. I like to also say, when you go into menopause not through the natural process, it's very aggressive. I often share that my son would look at me and say, "Ma, a flash is coming." He would come back with a fan and ice water trying to cool me off. I don't really know how effective that was, but it was definitely a bonding moment. I continued to have surveillance with my doctors, and I was getting a clean bill of health with my mammograms. I exercised. I was eating, being more conscious of my diet, my stress level, etc. And unfortunately, 8 years went by, and one morning, a voice said to me, "Check your breasts." And upon doing so, I discovered a lump that I did not see the night before. I sent my breast surgeon an email hoping that she was working, but it was a Saturday. She didn't get back to me until the Monday. When she called me, she said, "What's going on?" And so I told her what had transpired. And she said to me, "I really don't think that the cancer is back because it's been 8 years. And your mammogram 6 months ago was clear." And I said to her, "I hope you're right." She said, "Well, tomorrow morning, come in." So I went in the next day. And as she was doing a clinical exam, she stopped talking. Her whole countenance changed. And she said to me, "Get up. I'm going to send you for another mammogram, and I'm also going to order an ultrasound." And so off I went to have these diagnostics done. After the ultrasound was read, the doctor came in and said, "I've just spoken to your breast surgeon, and she's now looking for a radiologist to do a biopsy." I like to say that although I've been diagnosed with breast cancer twice, I do feel that I am blessed because I had an opportunity to have 3 tests done and see 3 doctors in one day without an appointment. At the end of the day, my breast surgeon said to me, "I know you're a straight no chaser, so I need to let you know this is highly suspicious, but I will give you a call in a few days." Again, a few days went by and I got that phone call and I heard for the second time, "You have breast cancer." I knew at that particular point that the disease was definitely going to be aggressive, and so the treatment was going to be aggressive as well. I knew I was no longer a candidate for a lumpectomy. A mastectomy is what I would have to have, and I opted to do a bilateral mastectomy. My breast surgeon said to me, "I think you need to have a consultation with a plastic surgeon." I saw a plastic surgeon for consultation, and he informed me, because of my history with breast cancer and radiation therapy, that in order for me to be a candidate for reconstruction, I would need to have reconstruction done at the same time as the mastectomy. I opted to do that. In addition, this time, when the report came back, the pathology report, it indicated that I was still positive for hormones of estrogen and progesterone, but this time I was also positive for HER2/neu. HER2/neu is a protein that overexpresses in breast cancer. I like to say it's a bad messenger. It tells the cells to reproduce quickly, which makes it an aggressive form of breast cancer. But thankfully, there is a drug that can be treating that overexpression. I like to say that I do fall into the Murphy's Law category. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, because I was allergic to the chemotherapy, and I was also allergic to the Herceptin that I was taking, which was the targeted therapy for the HER2. As a result, I then was put on steroids. And at the time, that was the only way that my body would receive the treatment. But taking steroids for a long term actually resulted in me developing cataracts. I like to say that I've experienced a lot of side effects, which then turned into late effects, and I like to call it collateral damage. However, I'm thankful to still be here. And I've started to do outreach in order to share my story, in order to educate others in terms of what the journey could look like, and also to be of encouragement to those of you who may hear the words, "You have breast cancer," to say it's not an easy journey, but it's one that you can travel on and still live life fully. I'd also like to share, although we're not doing this much in terms of air travel, but I'd like to encourage everyone. Self-care is very important. And on the airplane, we often hear, if the oxygen mask should drop, you should put it on yourself first before assisting your neighbors. Self-care is the oxygen. And so I'm encouraging each of you to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And in these times of COVID, it's important for you to make sure that you are still taking care of your screenings, you're having your physicals, and that you're eliminating as much stress as possible in order to maintain good health. So at this particular point, I'd like to thank you for listening to my story, and I hope that it will actually encourage you to know that it's not easy to be diagnosed, but do not let fear stop you from taking the important actions that will lead to the best prognosis.